Hi, I'd like to talk with you today about the Epic of Gilgamesh. And as we look at the Epic of Gilgamesh, I want to start by giving you three what I call epic terms. I want to give you the term epic poem, epic hero, and epic simile. So let's start broadly. Let's start with the epic poem. What is an epic poem? An epic poem is a very long poem that is written in an elevated style. You could look at poems like Gilgamesh, Beowulf, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, Homer's The Odyssey or the Iliad, and you could look at those and you can recognize them for being epic based on their length. But there's also an elevated style to them. They're not always very easy just to dig into. You got to really look at the text. You got to break it down sometimes to its basic components to get the full meaning of it. Another characteristic of the epic poem is that it celebrates a hero's achievements, and this hero is often important to his or her culture. So when we look at the Epic of Gilgamesh, we're going to look at the achievements of our main character Gilgamesh and what he did. Let's go to our next term. Our next term looks at the epic hero. What are the characteristics of an epic hero? What makes a hero epic? The first and foremost is that the epic hero receives divine intervention. So when we look at Gilgamesh, we could look at Gilgamesh and say, how did he receive divine intervention? We know that his mother, Ninsun, she was a priestess and she conceived Gilgamesh with some great force. We find Shamash, the sun god, helping Gilgamesh on his way to fight Humbaba. We find Ishtar, the goddess Ishtar, is interested in Gilgamesh and even proposes to Gilgamesh. So we see this sort of divine intervention. The second characteristic that we see is that the epic hero overcomes great obstacles. These great obstacles could be distances, they could be battles, they could be fights with monsters, and we see all of that in Gilgamesh. On the travel to Humbaba, we see that Gilgamesh travels a very long distance in one day, what it would take other men a much longer time to cover. We see him fighting monsters, we see him fighting the Bull of Heaven and fighting Humbaba and victorious over them. The third characteristic of the epic hero is that he travels to the underworld or another world. So when we look at Gilgamesh, we recognize right away that he's not traveling to the underworld. Now, I know you're saying, well, wait a minute, in Tablet 12 he did travel to the underworld, but just leave Tablet 12 out of this for right now because the real story of Gilgamesh takes place between Tablets 1 and 11. We'll talk about Tablet 12 on one of the other videos. But he does travel to another world. If you look at the forest in which he's in with Humbaba, there's this idea that it's sort of this sacred forest, that he has this glimpse to where the gods dwell in this forest. So he does indeed travel to another world. Let's look at the third term now, epic simile. What is an epic simile? An epic simile is a comparison using like or as, and it usually takes the length of 2 or more lines of an epic poem. So when we look at Gilgamesh, look at the first tablet. The first tablet says Gilgamesh is like a loose bull, nose up in an open field. So what do we get from that? Gilgamesh is like a loose bull, nose up in an open field. I don't know about you, but I don't want to run into any loose bulls. Why? Loose bulls are easily agitated. Well, bulls themselves are easily agitated, whether loose or in a pen. But by saying that he's a loose bull, we see he has no boundaries. He's free to roam wherever he will. It also says that his nose is up in an open field. What is an animal doing when his nose is up? He's scenting something. He's looking for his next conquest. It shows that Gilgamesh is he's sensual. He's looking to either fight, and we learn this about his character, that he hoards the men or the women of other men, and that he fosters armies from these sons of men. So we know that he's a very bloodthirsty, sensuous type of a man. So we get that from his simile. He's like a loose bull, nose up in an open field. Then we look at Enkidu. What is his epic simile? His epic simile says that Enkidu is like a news swift star. Okay, what is a swift star? A shooting star. I think one translation actually says that Enkidu is like a meteorite. I like the idea of he's like a news swift star. A swift star is a shooting star. It's there, it catches everyone's attention for a brief moment, and in a flash it's gone. And when we look at Enkidu, that's what he did. He comes into the city of Uruk and he grabs everyone's attention. In fact, the text says that all the people worshipped him. He grabbed everyone's attention. Gilgamesh, some type of a jealousy rose up in Gilgamesh. The two fought around the walls of Uruk initially before becoming fast friends. And then we find they had a couple of adventures together, Humbaba and the Bull of Heaven, and now it's deemed that Enkidu should die. So we find that his life was very, very short. It was brilliant but short. So his epic simile, like a news swift star, really captures and it gives us a glimpse of what the character of Enkidu is like. Now, for more details, go on to the next video and we'll look at a few other aspects of the Epic of Gilgamesh.